Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to TCG University. It is me, Noah, here. I'm going to just adjust this just a bit. One of your lovely hosts. This is me doing a deck profile here for my Dancers deck that I took to Bahamut Ball 2. Didn't do as well for that 2-deck format. I ended up, it was my strongest deck by far. Just about every game I played with Dancers, I won. And I went 2-4, 2 wins, 4 losses, which sounds about accurate. So I'm just gonna stop all the shenanigans, cutting to the meat of potatoes, right? So we're gonna start off with the backup lineup. Pretty simple. We started with a copy of Princess Sarah. So Princess Sarah is a 1 CP backup that essentially becomes any element I need and then does the 1k buff, which we don't use as much. It's just an easy 1 CP element color fixer. That's the word I need. 1 CP color fixer. Princess Sarah is usually one of the 3 colors of the deck, whether it be lightning, which is there for Little Set and Vayne, which you will see, and or wind or water. It's a wind-water deck because that's just where most of the dancers function. So we played 1 copy of her. We also play a copy of Cosmos, which there's a lot of cuts I can make to the deck, but these are just color fixing options. Cosmos obviously can be any color and allows Princess Sarah to be in play, or it can be played with Princess Sarah. Technically, Princess Sarah is a different element by that point. I'll set them there. We play 2 copies of Summoner. Summoner just says put it in a break zone, choose a summon of 3 or less, and cancel the effects. So it really is made to stop any of the low-cost straight breaks and or Amaterasu's in the deck. We only play 2 because my way of building decks is really weird. If I don't think I absolutely need the card, then I usually play it at a 2 of it. I don't think I absolutely need it. I think it's nice, but there are a lot of matchups where like it's just a backup that doesn't do anything. So then we move on to 1 copy of Oracle. This is set 15 Oracle that gives me a crystal in play and then says that one of my dudes take 1k less by doling and breaking her. She's just there for the extra crystal generation for Kane, who will show up a bit later as well. This is a Dancers deck, so we're obviously going to play 3 copies of the 2 CP Water Dancer as well. 2 CP Water Dancer is super sick in my opinion, because she not only says, she breaks herself unfortunately, but she says Dull Breaker, and you get to choose an opponent's forward until the end of the turn it loses all of its categories and abilities. The ability parts is the thing that matters the most, but categories is really nice when it comes to synergy lines that may or may not be there. I haven't seen anything major yet, but it's really just for the ability to lose an ability. It's also a backup dancer, which I think is sick as shit, because it can't be touched and just blown off the board, generally speaking. It's a 2 CP backup. They're usually safe currently. We play 2 copies of Sarah. Sarah allows me to search for a job princess or king or prince and add it to my hand. So she either searches out Princess Sarah, or as we will see later, sorry, this camera is just a little off there, Princess Sarah, or as we will see later, she also allows me to search out Lena, the new 3 CP Lena, which of course I will showcase. Sorry. There we go. I think it's all straightened out now. Put this beautiful girl right here. Then we move on to 1 set of the win backups that I play, which is the new Dragoon. It's, again, the crystal generation is really nice, and the first strike, in my opinion, is sick as shit. The first strike allows my Mayakov, because we're playing Dancers, to get around a lot of the bigger dudes, especially when I'm allowed to play Dancers that just say tap, deal 1k to stuff. So we play 3 of it. Super sick. The backup generation in this is really easy, and even off of like 2 backups, the deck really functions well. We play currently 2 copies. There are changes I will end up making to this deck as I figure it all out. Currently, we're playing 2 copies of Echo. I might bump that up to 3. Echo allows me to search for a Mobius forward. The only Mobius forward I play in this deck is Lilias. So Echo is only there to search out Lilias. That way I can have my board established as soon as possible. And then we play 1 copy of 3 CP Backup Dancer, which, personally, I might bump up to a 2 of. I think this card's just really nice. Again, it's just a generic dancer you can play onto the field. It doesn't cost less or anything, but the tap it or dull it to deal 1k to their board is also really good. She just synergizes with the deck since it is a dancer deck. Then we play 2 copies of Sildra. 4 CP, what is this? Opus Opus 12 Sildra. This card allows me to search for 2 Category 5 and or 2 water characters, mix and match if need be. Basically, this card is here to search out my Mayakovs so I can get my board established as soon as possible. The thing with Dancers is the way I play it at least, I want to establish my board as soon as possible. That way I have the most control in the game. And I'll explain all that later. So we're just going to set that there. We play, man, I'm going to butcher this name. Oh, it's Camaro. I believe so. 2 copies of Camaro. This is really good for any of the crystal generations that we use. And this card costs 2 less if I pay a crystal before paying cost for it. I can choose a forward of 2 or less, return it to my hand, and draw a card, so it's really good to keep my Kane alive or any of my smaller dancers. It also has the effect of choose a forward of 5 or more, break it. This is used primarily to deal with your bigger threats, like Shinryu. Shinryu kind of shits on the Dancer deck because they're not all powerful. And the only way to really deal with the Shinryu is to be able to 8k the board and 9k after. There's really no defense that Shinryus have. So this is just a way to get around that card. It helps me deal with probably one of the biggest weaknesses to the deck. It's cool crystal. Set it right up there. And then we play 2 copies currently of Unsegashi. The only reason we play Unsegashi is because the Lord of the deck, Mayakov, does not protect against summons. Unsegashi does. Unsegashi can protect Mayakov or Lilias, which are the 2 that really matter, from summons hitting if they're straight break summons. Otherwise, Lilias just protects from the damage anyways with the way she, with her own special, which is super cool. So we play 2 copies of this just to make sure that my board is alive and we have some way to tech out from straight breaks via summons. We're playing 2 copies of Amaru. Honestly, I'll probably switch this out. I don't know what yet. The main reason it's in here is that it's a 1 CP crystal generation, because I can just I can play him and then not pay the crystal, break him and gain a crystal. He's also a 1-drop 9k, which is super sick if I pay the crystal, but I don't see myself playing this card a lot as I used to when I first built the deck, just because he's really just here for the water CP, and I want to change that up. I'll just have to figure out what I'm changing it up for. Then we have 2 copies of Sin. This card's nuts. Sin is Opus 14. And he says that during my opponent's turns, they're not allowed to use action abilities. And then pay for 2 being wind, 2 being any color or element, and then I can choose an auto ability and cancel the effect. So I can cancel Shantotos, I can cancel Susanos, I can cancel Titans, literally any auto ability as long as I pay the 4 I can do, which is super sick because we usually just use backups and a card out of hand, and it's not that big of a deal. The coolest part about them is that the opponent can't use their action abilities, which against a Skyfire deck that I played, I was a dummy and swung with my Sin and ended up losing him. But beforehand, my opponent was never allowed to use Porum when I go to block things, because Porum's an action ability. They couldn't use the Penelo because Penelo's an action ability. They couldn't use the Kites because Kites is an action ability. They couldn't use Balthier because Balthier is an action ability. This literally, on my opponent's turn, shut them down and gave me the best defense I could possibly ask for in my deck. I could dull their entire board down and then swing in for chips of damage, because that's just the way that I play Dancers. That's the way Dancers functions for me. I think Sin is a really strong card and it's definitely going to stay in this deck. Then we played 2 copies of 2 CP Kane. This Kane's super sick. He is an EX burst that can either draw your card or restand all your dudes. We play the Crystal Generation, that way we don't lose Kane at the end of the turn. It would suck. Some of the coolest plays I've done with this card, if you need the hand advantage, you can draw with them, but some of the coolest plays I've done is being able to dull their board on my turn if need be, if I just couldn't, or they played more dudes after the fact, so I can dull them with my guys, swing with Kane, restand my guys, and go back in, is super nuts. Or you can swing with Kane last and restand all of my dudes so I have defense again. And we play 3 copies of 3 CP Galena. The reason we play 3 copies is, even though she is searchable, she's also water CP that we can use, and she's nuts. When you have the 1 or 2 crystals, you're able to res either your low-cost Dancers or your Lilias from the break zone, or your Kane from the break zone, or Amaru from the break. Anybody except for, I believe, Vayne and Mayakov can get rezzed on with her on-play auto, and she also meshes really well with the spice of the deck, which is Bartz, Legend Bartz, who gains all jobs on, or he gains the jobs of everything on the field, and if he has 5 or more, he does super cool shit, because she's a princess and warrior of light, meaning with her in play, Bartz is already at 3 jobs. I just love the way this card functions. Then we play currently 2 copies, and I think we'll keep this card in here. I might switch it out, I don't know for sure yet. 2 copies of Vayne. Vayne essentially just gives all my guys 2k and minuses 2k on the opponents. He's essentially a free-to-play if I just remove the backups, which usually I just do. It's 2 backups that I'm probably never going to use, like an Echo or a Sarah, or even the Cosmos and Sarah and Princess Sarah. Honestly, as long as I keep my Dancer backups there, I'm generally okay. The power boost is really nice for when I decide to 8k all actives. My guys generally don't die at that point. Just about everybody I play lives because the Dancers will be dull, and they're the small ones that matter the most. This card has seen a good amount of play. I think he's generally just a solid pick in the deck. And we play 2 copies of Opus 3, I believe. Yeah, Opus 3 Legend Bartz, which gains the jobs of all forwards on the field, on my field at least. Or forwards I control, if that makes it easier. If he has 3 or more, he gains haste and first strike. If there's 5 or more jobs that he gains 3k power brave and can attack twice in the same turn. So some of the coolest things I've been able to do with this is give him the 5 jobs, swing with him, and then use Lilias to dull him, because he's already swung and that he has brave, so he's good there, and then dull something else, so I can either get in the extra points of damage, or I can just get around the blocker that they have up. Card's solid. It's probably one of the best sneaks in the deck. We play 1 copy of 2CP Water Dancer, just because 2CP Water Dancer says dull and choose something and cancel. It loses all abilities until end of turn, which again I think is super sick. It's one of those triggers where you can force your opponent to do something at an inopportune time, or else they don't get it. One of the first times I played this deck, I put this card out on the field and played against a Ramuh Raiden deck. The EX burst obviously fucked me up, but it was good because I can just use this Dancer and dull it and say Raiden or Ramuh loses his abilities, so my guys don't ever really break, which is super solid. Also, a lot of those hit actives, and like my Dancers dull themselves naturally, so it's not that big of a deal. We play 2 copies of 1 CP Dancer that just says dull him, deal 1k to the board. He's super cheap. He's never really used in terms of attacking. He's really just there as another Dancer you can dull down. Sometimes you can get free damage out of him, but that doesn't happen a lot. We play 3 copies of the Opus 12 Dancer that says dull it, deal 1k to all forwards the opponent controls. If you control 7 or more wind characters, deal 4k damage instead, which is just good for getting over those big humps, because we can get to a point where we control 7 or more wind characters with like 3 Dragoons, Echo, Dancer, Bartz, Kane, Gar, Unsegashi. Like a lot of these guys will hit their targets like they're supposed to. So we're pretty good there. It's really just, again, another Dancer, and she's a 7k, so Brynhilder doesn't just outright kill her like he would this one or this one, which is super solid. Move her up here. And we play 3 copies of the new Opus 15 Dancer that says at the end of each of my turns, if he's dull, I deal 2k to all the forwards the opponent controls. So the cool thing with him and Lilias is that you can potentially 10k aboard at the end of turn. If all their dudes are up and active because they're like holding blockers, you just dull all 4 of your dudes, hit everything for 8, and then in turn this will hit for 2 and everything dies. Or his other ability is pay 1 dull him, all your forwards gain 1k power until the end of turn, which again can potentially save my guys from that 8k sweep, or just boost my Mayakov, for instance. That way my Dragoon can give him first strike and he can match up with 9k super easily, as well as all my guys that ping as well. I'm running out of room on my mat. Oof. We're gonna move some things around here. Just create smaller spaces. I'm just gonna move this here. Come with me, and you'll be in a world full of imagination. Cool. Next, we play 3 copies, obviously, of Lilias. I believe that's how she's pronounced. Second best card in the deck, or tied for first and best card in the deck when it comes to Dancers. This card and Mayakov are the reasons that I play Dancers, and they're the reasons Dancers are so good in my opinion. So she says dull and active, job Dancer, or card name Dancer, choose a forward and dull it. Cool thing is, it chooses whatever forward you want, so you can dull your own dudes too, to like get around those hit the active guys, or anything that hits things in active, you just dull your guys instead. And then her second action is dull a total of 4 active Job Dancer or Card Name Dancer, deal 8k to all active forwards. This is the lightning card. That's something I assume a lightning card should do, but she definitely does what an ice card does by just dulling a dude to dull a dude. And I think if there was a way to play dancers with ice without going into potentially 4 colors, unless I free play her somehow, it'd be really sick with Gentiana to just shut down abilities as well. And we have her special, which is just pitch a copy of her. During this turn, the Job Dancer or Card Name Dancer you control is dealt damage by a summoner ability. The damage becomes 0 instead, meaning for that entire turn, none of my dudes can get touched by damaging abilities. Basically, summons that damage. So like mono fire decks just can't touch my guys for those turns. I will put this beat down here. She's a 3-drop 7k, and like the issue with this is Shinryu can really just hit you hard if they slap it down, which is why Sin's really good for shutting off Shinryu's ETB, because it's an auto. And we have, last but not least, 3 copies of Mayakov. Mayakov is the sickest card in this deck again, also tied up. I also got all mine foiled. It says, Job Dancer and Card Name Dancer you control can't be chosen by your opponent's abilities. Again, summons can touch them, abilities can't. When he enters the field, I can play up to 1 Job Dancer or Card Name Dancer of 3 or less from my hand onto the field, which is just about any dancer in the game, honestly. So usually what you do is you search out Mayakov, search out Lisette, or if you just draw them naturally, you slap down Mayakov, slap down Lisette, and your board's generally fine. Unless your opponent has a board wipe and you don't have an immediate answer to it, like good for them. They had the immediate board wipe answer for 2 forwards. And it hurts the deck, but like they had it, they have to use it. Otherwise, you're off to the races. It's essentially you slap these 2 down, you build your back row for a turn or 2 maybe, slap a dancer out there, like just start pumping out dancers. Unless they're the backups, then you're still generally fine, and you'll have the ability to control a board faster than your opponent would even be able to put dudes out and attempt to swing with, just because of the fact that like he can't be touched because he's a dancer and it doesn't say other, which is nuts. She can't be touched with him by abilities, which a lot of people generally are playing abilities off forwards and not so much off of summons, or they're playing abilities off backups. Like summons are still there because summons are always the way to win the game, but nobody ever just uses the summons like that, and a lot of summons can't just kill these guys instantly. It takes about 1 or 2 depending. But this is the dancer deck that I currently have built. I think the cards we decide to slot out are probably going to be Amaru. I might actually get rid of Unsegashi, but I might keep them. It just depends. Against Lightning, it's a really bad matchup when they have a lot of straight break cards, so Unsegashi might stay. I might cut Lena down. I might replace Kane with something else. I like the way Kane plays, actually. I might just keep him. I might replace the Vayne for different Lightning cards, because we just need some way to have the CP for Lisette, which is why we also play Cosmos and Princess Sarah, and Mayakov can play her for free. But this is the Dancers deck I took. I will also be posting up my cadets, or cadets will already be posted, and this is dancers. Who knows? But hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any comments, or if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. Make sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, because that's a thing that people actually have to worry about now. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. And as James would always say, stay learnt.